It was really, full of excitement when I first arrived. The freedom and the opportunity and the prospect of all these months ahead. The Australian government, through Smart Traveller, I think, sent an email saying they'd escalated the danger warning for the Netherlands. So I'd always wanted to go on exchange when I got to uni. So I ended up going to the Netherlands, which is not so far removed from Australia, but still, they speak another language, even though everyone speaks English very well. Definitely, I was very excited. I mean, especially I think going on exchange in Europe and to a country that's so as central as the Netherlands, living with other people from all over the world, and just to experience another side of education in a different way of teaching was really interesting as well. I arrived and I already knew a couple of people from my uni, so I was hanging out with them, but then I went to my house and I was living with 12 other people. So it was really fun, meeting all of them, cooking the first meals together. So with people from Taiwan and Singapore and Mexico and Spain and the States. So what I knew about COVID at that time was not much. I mean, no one was really talking about it. It wasn't really in our minds. It was really, full of excitement when I first arrived. The freedom and the opportunity and the prospect of all these months ahead. I was living with one Italian, and I had classes with lots of Italians.
The crisis is already in full swing. The most active hotspot right now is Italy.
The Easter festival is a huge celebration for those countries, and they were all planning to go back. So when it started to seem as though they really wouldn't be able to go home, and their families were starting to go into lockdown, that started to get a bit concerning, but it still didn't feel really threatening. The point where we knew we'd have to come home was really quick. Our uni sent us an email, I think, basically saying if we stayed, we wouldn't be covered anymore by the insurance that we were covered, provided by the uni. The Australian government, through Smart Traveller, I think, sent an email saying they'd escalated the danger warning for the Netherlands.
The travel advice to every Australian is do not travel abroad. Do not go overseas.
I had a return flight already booked that I was trying to move forwards, maybe to take it home earlier. I think I called Emirates and there was a 36-hour waiting line. And then you'd go to sort of buy tickets home and you'd get to the final screen and it would just be gone. So I packed very quickly, I sorted out my housing contract and then just spent the next day and a bit with all the people from my house and all my friends, just spending the time in the city, trying to enjoy the last moments. On the plane, they just handed us a pamphlet of information about COVID, about social distancing. Yeah, you got to the airport and I don't think anyone even asked me if I had symptoms or anything like that. And then I just walked out at 6:30 or something into a Sydney day and saw my mum and went home and then was in quarantine. To be honest, it was fine. We were very lucky we have a garden. I just spent my time reading or ignoring the uni work that I had from overseas. My return flight, the company that I booked it through, was liquidated, so no chance of sorting anything about that out. I'd taken 6 weeks of classes, and the way that they do their semesters there is you take 2 subjects in 10-week blocks with a week of holidays in between. So I'd actually taken all of my in-person classes in the 6 weeks that I was there. And so I just had this time now to write my final reports. But it was very hard to sort of motivate myself to do that because it felt like a completely different world that I'd sort of left. In my second block of subjects, most of my subjects, I had classes at 10 p.m. till 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something like that. Very hard to stay awake, let alone learn anything. In that sense, like still talking to friends from my house or friends in my subjects that I'd met there was a big thing in kind of keeping me a bit on track, I think. Because without that, I would have just felt completely free of any pressure to do it. And I know people who either transferred back to their home uni in Australia or just completely cut off studying their exchange studies because they couldn't. They weren't into it. Even though it was such a short time, I really enjoyed it. I'm genuinely good friends with a lot of the people I lived with, a lot of the people I met there, and to have to come back it's disappointing. More than anything, it's emphasized the perspective that this is really nothing terrible has happened to me at all. It's a very privileged thing to go and study in another country and have this incredible life to come back to, yeah.